Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing tonight? Let me tell you. Let me tell you how I'm doing tonight. I'm actually doing okay. I'm doing okay tonight. I am what I am. I am what I am. A lot of, I guess you could call it maybe que sera, sera. Um, I don't think that's the right term. You don't say que sera, sera. That means whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. That doesn't really jive. That doesn't really work, especially with this situation, this conundrum, this pickle. I mean, ultimately, I don't think there's much I can do. I I don't know if there's anything to do. There's really nothing to do, you know. Um, I mean, I feel like even just to even talk about it, I just sound like a freaking hater. I'm not. I'm not. I actually want to see the movie. It looks good. Looks very interesting. I want to watch it. I will probably go see it in the theater. Um, But let me just take you through what happened to me late last night. And you know, it's really surreal. It's a surreal situation. For me, I'm still kind of in disbelief. And I'll be honest with you, this has actually kind of happened once before, but the other thing doesn't really, I don't know. I don't think it did not really count the way that this one to me is pretty egregious. I mean, this is a this is a almost a beat for beat synopsis, carbon copy synopsis. I mean, are the stories exactly the same? I don't know. I can't say. I haven't seen the movie, but let me just hold on. I just want to post to here real quick. Um, I'll do the whole, hey, if you're just joining us, please make sure to give me a skull in the live chat, in the comments. Make sure you like this video, share the stream, subscribe. Keith says they're having a bowl of hater salad. All right. You know what you mean? We're not drinking haterade tonight? Aren't we supposed to drink haterade? I mean, like a part of me is like, am I drinking haterade or do I have like a legitimate reason to be pissed? And then ultimately it always comes back to like, if I really had a legitimate reason to be pissed, I wouldn't be making this video. And in fact, I would be engaged in a lawsuit, I guess. I don't know. Maybe even just doing this is kind of nullifying that. Or maybe on the opposite end, maybe I'm sort of laying the groundwork, the precedent for such a thing. All right, let me tell you what happened. Let me take you through what happened, and then I'll let you. How about I let you be the judge? Let's hear what you think. Do you see? Am I overreacting here? Am I sort of like? Is this like a surreal sort of thing, or I mean, obviously it's a surreal sort of thing. Um, and then I'll tell you what I took away from it, what my lesson is in all of this, my profound, a few profound lessons to be had here. Um, and all right, so late last night, I finished the stream. We were talking about X-ray bone music, which is a great episode. Go listen to that. That's the previous night's episode here on the channel. We've had a pretty good string of episodes. Tomorrow night, we're doing a Kiss panel. Larry the Wolf is coming back for that one. Our friend Chris Allo will be joining us and some other people. It's going to be great. So check that out. Hey, Angus, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, so thanks for the skulls, Keith. So I'm watching a YouTube video. I'm uploading the bone music episode to Spotify and Spotify podcast, right? And I'm watching a YouTube video while I'm doing that, and the pre-roll comes up, the advertising, and I'm watching this trailer for something that takes place in outer space, and I'm going, this looks good. This looks interesting. I love space. I love sci-fi stuff. I love space stuff. It's like something that I really love. And I'm watching, and all of a sudden there's like something about this, what I'm watching seems incredibly familiar to me. in a way that I couldn't quite put my foot on. Like I was almost speechless. My jaw hung open because I'm going, where? I know this. I know this. I know this. Where do I know this from? You know, and I'm going, wait. And then suddenly I see that there's a space and then suddenly clickety click, 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 it all made sense. And I go, holy shit, that's my fucking idea. Now, let me pause. Let me put a pin in there right there for 1 second and tell you who I am when I'm not podcasting and YouTubing. And some of you have watched the very first videos we ever did. I kind of told a little bit of my origin story. And, you know, some of you that have followed the filmmaking stuff that I do on here, and believe me, I'm going to be shoving a lot more of that down your throat very soon when I have my film I'm going to be putting out myself. I'm putting out my own movie, putting out 2 movies myself. How about that? And it'd be great if people checked them out. In any which case, I have been a writer for years. I have been writing for years and years and years. I started at writing, you know, short fiction, I guess, you know, in school and whatnot. Eventually, I started writing screenplays. It was a long, drawn out process. The first time I ever wrote a screenplay, it took me upwards of a year. I just didn't know, like, and then it was interesting. Every time I wrote a new screenplay, it got easier and easier and easier. Now, I only would take an idea that I had to screenplay phase once I had completed a treatment that made sense to me. That's my writing process. So my writing process goes as follows. You know, some writers, they want to write by, how do they write? They write by the feeling of the character. They make up these characters, which are kind of like compartmentalized parts of their psyche. And then they let the characters dictate what the story is. It's like a real, man, I wish I could write like that. That's like, I don't know if that's how Stephen King writes, but like that's like such a, it's like a meditation almost. I have experienced that aspect of like going into your head, into the world that you create and sort of immersing yourself in it and creating and letting it write itself, but not in that kind of way where almost the characters write themselves. They tell you what they would do and where they would go. It's this weird sort of disassociative kind of thing. For me personally, my writing style is I come up with an idea. I get the idea. Then the next step is I got to beat it out. It starts with a vomit beat or a vomit draft where I write out as stream of conscious as much of the story as I can get down just so I don't forget it. And it's usually comes to me, it's like an epiphany. It comes to me, or I just come across them and I go, oh my God, that's a story. That's a story. I got to write that down. I got to document this, got to, you know, this, that, and the other. And I probably have my God, yeah, that's right. You got to beat it out. Flow state, yo, you got to beat it out. I love that. Yes, that's right. You got to beat it out, baby. Beat it out. No, but for real, I kind of write down as much of it as I possibly can. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. No punctuation doesn't matter. Nothing. It's just about getting as much of the story out as I possibly can, right? And that's what I do. And then once that's happened, then it goes into the treatment phase. And the treatment phase is I'm going to slowly refine this down. I'm going to almost break it down by scenes, maybe not quite, but like definitely like plot arcs or plot, you know, I want to know where the story is going to go. Like I need to know where I'm going to end up. You know what I mean? And in some cases it's like, okay, I'm at page 15. This beat, this thing, this story element needs to happen now. So I need to push that forward. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I do it. And I didn't learn how to do it. It's just how I started doing it because I wanted to write. I wanted to be a storyteller and a creator. And that's part of my process. So what I do is vomit draft. And here's the thing. Normally the vomit draft is usually done in a Gmail. And I have been doing this for almost 15 years now, maybe even longer. 15 years. I send myself emails of my ideas And then I put a special tag in Gmail under movie idea. And I'll write out, and like I said, it's sometimes it can be fragmented. Sometimes, like, the sentences might not even be complete because I'm in such a rush to get the whole thing out before it like dissipates. And here's the other problem with it too. Hey, Laura Connor, Happy New Year to you. Jeff from the 416. I don't know what you mean by 416, but yes, Happy New Year. Because here's the other thing. Sometimes when you come up with a great story, you start poking holes in it. You start second guessing it. You start going, this is not a really great idea. I'm not going to follow through with it. Or it starts to not feel like such a good idea anymore. There's so many things in life where they feel like they're really good ideas. And then once you do them, they don't feel like such good ideas no more. That's a metaphor for many things in life. But the point being is that you need to get it all out before you let that judgment and doubt creep in. You know what I mean? It's like doing math. You know what I mean? Like 1 + 2 + 3. Like sometimes the math to the idea doesn't always add up. And I got to do the math on the idea too. Like that's a whole other issue. The point being is that I always want to get the idea. Sometimes it comes to me in the middle of the night. Sometimes it comes to me at like 2 a.m. I grab my phone and I send myself an email. Now, what's interesting is that that's not done for any other reason than, Laura, I'm so sorry, from Toronto. Of course, my bad. Yes. And hey, Winston, how are you? So great. So great to have Winston in the chat as well. So, it's just about sending myself the email with the idea. And then what will happen is I go back and I comb through my ideas. Over the years, sometimes I pitch stuff. And typically I try to pitch things that I'm not too attached to, because generally when I'm pitching things, it's not really a type of place or time, or it's not really an appropriate type of thing where I'm not going into some high rise where I need to want people to sign an NDA. You know what I mean? It's funny though. It's funny. I had a meeting about this idea once, like a pitch meeting, like a real serious pitch meeting. And I asked the producer to sign an NDA before I shared the idea with them, and they wormed their way out. They did not want to sign the NDA, and I never ended up sharing this idea. And that was years ago. That was years and years and years ago. But fun. That's that funny observation about this particular thing. So what I do is I send myself these things, and what I'll do is I'll comb through, and I'll pick out a good idea. I'll pick out a bunch of good ideas. When you're pitching stuff too, you never want to pitch one thing. You want to pitch like 3 things or 4 things or 5 things, because you never know what's going to land or stick. And it's always things that I'm not really concerned about losing. This idea was not one of those things. This was one of my most precious diamonds, like just a diamond. I knew I thought of this idea, and I just knew it was a fucking good idea. And I knew that if and when I made it, it would have to be very high concept, low budget, but that I would figure out how to make it. Okay. So now that I've planted that part of the story, now let's go back to me watching this trailer, right? If you're still following me, I'm watching this trailer for this movie called ISS, International Space Station. And I'm going, Jesus Christ. Because here's the thing, even though I'm watching this thing, and my first thought when I'm watching it too is, I got to see this. It looks really good. It looks right up my alley. Of course it looks right up my alley. It's my fucking idea. I thought of it myself. I thought of the fucking thing myself. So I'm like, and then I'm like, this seems very familiar. And then I'm going, wait a minute, what the fuck did I just watch? My jaw's hanging open. And then my jaw unhinged and fell to the ground when I went to Google the movie and I read the synopsis. So let me do that for you right now. We're going to our first, I don't know if you want to call this the evidence panel. So I Googled this movie, ISS. It's coming out. It's a thriller sci-fi, which is essentially that was exactly what my fucking movie was. Thriller sci-fi. So then I read the synopsis. Are you ready for this? Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station when a worldwide conflict breaks out on Earth. Soon, the US and Russian astronauts each receive orders from the ground. Take control of the station by any means necessary. Okay? That's the plot of the trailer that I had seen that had me raising an eyebrow and scratching my head. Now, as soon as I read that, I was just like in disbelief. I was like, I could not believe it. I literally, there was nobody to text. There was nobody to text. I was like, I need to tell somebody about this, and there's nobody to tell. So I'm telling you. That's why I'm on here right now telling you. Now, I do want to, well, let me read my synopsis. I've read that synopsis. Now let's read my synopsis. This is I believe, I was looking through my Gmail archive, and I believe this right here is the very first time that I wrote about this idea. Notice the date. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Okay, so that's me, Jeff Frumess. This was at Thursday, March 27th, 2014 at 1:08 a.m. Ready? 2 astronauts and 2 cosmonauts are aboard a moon or space station when they get the news that World War III has broken out and that the US and Russia are at war with each other. They get messages from both of their respective countries to seize control of the space station they inhabit. On board is a deadly weapon that can shift the tide of the war. With all 4 astronauts' families on the line, they go to war on board, arming themselves with whatever they can to take the other ones out. Okay? Is that okay? That's my idea. That's my fucking idea. And I had it 9 fucking years ago. Now, here's the real, now here's the thing. Here's the other thing too, to consider, something to consider. Well, before we get to the considerations, now let's go, hold on. Now let's go. I was curious. I was like, so this movie I.S.S, which is only in theaters on January 19th, everybody. So go see it in theaters January 19th. Yeah, right. Exactly. Great idea. My great idea. But go see it in theaters, I guess. I'll tell you something. If I had a high-priced lawyer, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute. Then I was curious. I was like, who's the writer? It's a guy named Nick Shafir. The director is somebody named Gabriela Cowperthwaite. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. The producers are Mickey Little and Pete Shalalaman. And the budget is $20 million. So imagine sending yourself this email. Imagine sending yourself this email in 2014. And then in 2024, you see a trailer for the $20 million version of this very synopsis. Now here's where I need to be what's the word? Not cynical, skeptical. Here's where I need to be a little skeptical here in my assertions, in my questioning of this whole crazy situation. Thing number one, there is such thing as parallel thinking. It does happen. It happens all the time. Multiple people can come up with the same great idea. It does happen. The two big questions here are: one, was this trademark copyrighted? Did I get this registered with the office or whatever? And two, who did I share it with? The truth of the matter is I shared this with several individuals who I plan to potentially make the movie with, right? So at one point or another. So I was not the only one who knew about this idea, but when it came to pitching it in like a setting, like in like a, for a company or, for a producer, like a producer, nobody has ever seen the story, or at least nobody had ever seen the story, especially this guy who I was concerned about. And I don't know. I don't fucking know. So that's number one, parallel thinking. Like, You know, am I being a little self-absorbed here? Maybe. But I mean, at the same time, if you came up with a fucking idea. Now, here's the thing that's crazy about my synopsis and their synopsis. Again, I haven't watched the movie. I had a whole slew of places where my story went. Who knows where their story is going to go? How many similar things? Is there a big deadly weapon that can shift the tide of the war? I'm very curious to know, because if so, then I really think there's a reason for me to be a little bit more concerned. And I'm sure if the writer of this movie, congratulations, by the way, on getting your movie made, I'm sure if you motherfucking were in my position, I was in your position, you would probably be raising some eyebrows too. Okay. I'm not saying anything. I'm just mean, like, come on, like, look how similar the fucking idea is. It's the same fucking idea. A moon or a space station. It's like the fucking Simpsons did it. um, and it's the US and Russia. I mean, my God, man, it's similar. It's really, really similar. Now, here's the big, what's the big $1 million question? When did this other screenwriter, when did he write his screenplay? Did he come up with the idea as early as March 27th, 2014? Does he have documented evidence? When did he write the screenplay? Have I written a screenplay for this idea? No, I've never made it past the treatment phase, which is part of the reason why it was never registered in the first place. Because for me, once I have a completed screenplay, once it's a script, it's a screenplay, then I can get it registered. Until then, and it's just in the treatment form, I'm not going to sit here. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I should change that from now on. Typically speaking, it's still being worked out. It's still, I can't say that I had, I had a first draft of the treatment, but, I was still there was so much stuff that I was working on, So is it possible that the ideas themselves are different enough? Like, is that movie different from what I would have wanted to make? I'm sure that it is. However, the idea, the synopsis, the core story idea is a carbon copy. Is that enough ground for me to, like, absolutely not. I do not secretly hope that it's a bomb at all. I'm in all honesty, as jealous as I am and as upset as this makes me, I'm incredibly happy for them, and I hope that they make all the money. It's a great fucking idea. And maybe if I do have a case and I do somehow get a lawyer and they do make all the money, then I'll get a little chunk of that money. There's enough money for all of us, right? There's enough money for all of us to go around. So no, the answer is no. I do not hope this movie is a bomb at all. I hope it makes big money. I really do. And you know why it should make big money? Because it's a good fucking idea. Whether it's my idea, whether it's their idea, whether he came up with it, whether I came up with it, it's a great fucking idea. It should make money. Because this is part of the lesson that I learned in this situation, the realization that I came to today. I'm going to get to that part in a minute. I'm still in my investigation phase as I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here. Because I'm going, how in the hell did this happen? But look at that, beat for beat. Look at this again. I'm going to read it again. This is mine. 2 astronauts and 2 cosmonauts are aboard a moon or a space station when they get the news that World War III has broken out and that the US and Russia are at war with each other. They get messages from both of their respective countries to seize control of the space station that they inhabit. On board is a deadly weapon that can shift the tide of the war. With all 4 astronaut families' lives on the line, they go to war on board, arming themselves with whatever they can to take the other ones out. Thursday, March 27th, 2014 at 1:08 a.m. I came up with that fucking story. The synopsis again for ISS, I keep wanting to call it ISIS, which is kind of weird, I guess. Here we go. So here's the synopsis. Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station as a conflict breaks out on Earth. Reeling, the US and Russian astronauts receive orders from the ground to take control of the station by any means necessary. I mean, that is really fucking similar, man. I mean, that's like the same fucking shit. The same fucking shit. Now, like I said, my big question, do they have a super weapon? Is there a super weapon involved? because super weapons are very, very sticky. And you know what else is sticky? Motherfucking stickers. That's right. Riot Stickers is the of this channel. Oh shit. What just happened? We just lost power there for a second. Riot Stickers is the official sponsor of the Frumess channel. We have a new promotion with riotstickers.com. Link is down in the description. For $69, you can get 200 die cut stickers. You know what a die cut sticker is? It's a sticker in any shape that you want, made with a computer guided scalpel that will cut your sticker to the exact shape and specification that you wish. The stickers are 3 inches in circumference. They're printed on vinyl. They have a UV coating. And man, you cannot go wrong when it comes to Riot Stickers. Take advantage of this deal. It's at riotstickers.com/Frumess. Link is down in the description. Let me play the quick 60-second video and we will get right back to our investigation, as well as the silver golden lesson that I learned from this experience.
Posters and promo cards, there's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality, quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support, great customer service, and so much more. We are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
All right, and we are back. That's right, riotstickers.com. Take advantage of that deal now. Yeah, Sergio Boner, love your name, Sergio. Sergio Boner is shocked. He's saying, wow. Okay, so all right, so my next, immediately I'm starting to like figure out like, or I'm starting to think more like when did this screenplay get written? When did this movie go into production? It's coming out at the end of 2023. Why did it take so long to? Well, sorry, burying the lead there, or spoiling the lead there. Let's take a look. So now, let's take a look over. I went over to check out this guy who wrote the movie, and his name is Nick Shafir. And I cannot find it. It was made by Bleecker Street Media. I mean, it's a $20 million movie, man. That's nothing to. He's repped by UTA and Zero Gravity. Nick is a director as well. This is his first big breakout screenplay. So here on September 13th, this is a screenplay review. It's 105 pages, 6 astronauts on the ISS. Look at this. 3 Americans and 3 Russians are ordered by their respective governments to take the other side out when a nuclear war erupts down on Earth. I mean, motherfucker. That's crazy. All right, so I just had war. I didn't have nuclear war, but I mean, come on. The script finished with 7 votes. Is there anything? Man, after the twist in Malignant, can any script ever keep my attention? Again, it's hard to get juiced up about explosions 100 miles away, even if people are dealing with them aren't parasitic tumor twins. I actually see a lot of International Space Station scripts, and I'm not surprised why. You got a group of people crammed up in close quarters. So I guess scripts on the space station are quite common in the year 2021. So this script is making its rounds in 2021. Is it possible that the script was written as early as 2014, or that the idea had been conceived as early as 2014? I mean, yes. I mean, the other thing here is like, hey, he might have come up with a very similar idea, and yeah, that's what I was saying before. DLW, before you were here, I said that it's very likely that it was just parallel. It was parallel thought, man. Like it happens. It really does happen. Like I can't Do I think that someone who I told my story to somehow told it to Nick and then Nick wrote this screenplay? It's just too crazy. Crazier things have happened, but there's too much conspiracy for that to be true. But it's just bananas to me that my idea, which is so utterly so close, so carbon copy to his. I had 2 Russians and 2 Americans, and he had 3 Russians and 3 Americans. It's fucking crazy, dude. And yet nobody's written a genuinely good version of this setup. I suspect the problem is at least partially due to the ISS being a weak location for a movie. Visually, it's a disaster. And while the cramped location sounds good for a rip-roaring story in theory, there's something almost too limited about the tiny space. That's not true at all. That's what makes the story work. Is the fact that you have this really big idea happening down on Earth, and all of the stakes are crammed into this tiny space. So again, probably the thing that would really upset me is if there is a weapon, there's something on the ISS that both sides need. That's why they want to take the station. That is the fulcrum of my entire fucking idea. And that to me is upsetting because, listen, there are lots of movies that take place up in space stations and stuff, even with, conflict between, astronauts. But like, the premise is just so specific, man. It blows my mind. It really does blow my mind. 30-year-old American Dr. Kira Williams is headed up to the International Space Station for the first time to work on her cancer research. Headed up there with her 20-something, with her is 20-something Christian who seems a bit nerdy and real nice. Once on the ship, they meet everyone else. There's an American captain, Gordon Barrett. There's his second girlfriend, Veronica, a Russian. There are brothers, Alexei and Nikolai. Alexei is the nice one. Nikolai is a little bit more calculating. So while in my story, I had in the treatment, each one there was also another level of conflict going on. There was internal conflict. One of the cosmonauts wanted to work towards a peaceful solution, and one of the cosmonauts wanted to follow the orders of the state. And it was the same thing on the American side. And that was a whole thing that I was playing with. So not only do you have the 2 sides in conflict, but you had internal conflict on both sides, and maybe even some switching around and whatnot. That was my fucking idea. That was my goddamn idea. After Kira settles in, she checks her research. I mean, this is spoiling the whole thing. I really kind of want to just watch it. After Kira, I have to know. After Kira settles in, she checks her research station, which she learns Alexei is sharing for his own research. I guess this is spoilers for the movie. This information was not given to her, but she was sent up there, so Kira is immediately upset. But that's about to be the least of her worries, because while everybody is staring down at Earth, they start to see a bunch of little flares pop up a few minutes. I mean, that's not a detail that I had. That mine was a lot more subtle. Mine was in my movie, the place where they are, the setting, whether it was on the moon or a space station, the idea was that you're right. You cannot, I don't know. You kind of can trademark an idea. It depends. Did I register and trademark my idea? I did not. If I had a treatment, I could have trademarked that treatment. I do have a treatment. Technically, here's the thing about copyright. The moment you think of something, you have copyrighted it. It is yours. It is your property. It is your intellectual property. However, and here's the big problem. The big problem is you have to be able to prove it, and you have to be able to enforce it. So one of the ways that people used to be able to prove it is that they would send their intellectual idea to themselves by post, by mail. That was a way. And that's not why I was doing the email. It was just a convenient way to digitally send myself something directly from my phone. But the point is that, I happened to have, stamped when I came up with that idea, which I'm positive predates when they came up with the idea. So, like, for instance, there are so many movies that are similar. Premises are borrowed all the time, but this is premises are borrowed all the time, and you see all sorts of stuff. You see Jaws in a house, you see, Alien on a boat. You know what I mean? Like, you can just, all sorts of stuff that you can do. However, this is this is a very fucking specific, this is my fucking idea. It's my fucking it's my fucking idea. Let's keep reading. Oh, right. What I was saying about the space station, So in mine, though, the Russian side, that was sovereign Russian soil, and on the American side, that was so when the mess hall was the international part of where the common area. But, like, for instance, if the Russians wanted to go to the American side, they needed to have their passports. It was like that kind of thing. That kind of bureaucracy is what I wanted. When each retreat back to their quarters, they both privately get messages from their government saying, you need to take the station. And then they have conversations with each other. Really, you see it from the Americans' perspective. They have these conversations back and forth. Is this real? Do we want to do this? Those are our friends. Do we want to do this? Do we have to stand by our country? What are we going to do? And then when they go to take the station, they realize that the Russians know what's up, because they too were told the same thing. And there's no weapons aboard. So what they have to do is, there's a secret compartment. They basically have to put the weapon together with components. At the time, in a later treatment that I wrote, it turned into a 3D printing sort of thing. The technology for 3D printing was not something that I initially had thought of, but later on, they get special coordinates to 3D print like a laser rifle cannon thing. And that's what they're going to use, because weapons are not allowed on board, because specifically they are the custodians of a super weapon, right? And that's why both sides have to be represented on the base and whatnot. And so when war happens down there, suddenly you have it seep into the base, because this is going to turn the tide of the war. So that the whole war, World War III, comes down to 4 people. That was the idea. That was the strength of the fucking idea. You know what I mean? So, fuck. Yes, screenplays do take a long time to come to fruition as film. Directors, actors, studios, all those things can take decades, right? And so it's very possible that Nick had written this as early as 2014. But I don't think so. I just don't believe it. I don't believe that if he was making the rounds in 2021 with that script, I think he wrote his script after I had come up with that idea. And I had written treatments long before that he probably wrote his script, potentially. Again, did I register those treatments? No, I did not. But was it my idea? Did I have it? Yes, I most certainly did. Let's keep reading. Let's see where this is going. Let's see how maybe in the end I'll be wrong here a little bit, and we'll see a little bit. There'll be a somewhat of a different sort of thing here. So this is a great detail that I never thought of, and that's a great detail. They're staring down at Earth, and they start to see a bunch of little flares pop up. A few minutes later, the station shakes. After a few minutes after that, the power goes down. It doesn't take a genius to realize that there's a nuclear battle going on Earth, and they've been hit by EMP blasts. See, now that could be a great fuck. There's an EMP on the fucking station. That's what would turn the tide of the war if it wasn't. Mine was a giant weapon of mass destruction that could destroy the planet and is used really to destroy meteors, but whatever. Gordon then gets a message from the U.S. government. Oh, that is literally what fucking that is literally what happens in my fucking story. Take over the space station by any means necessary. He huddles up. That's my fucking story. He huddles up with Kira and Christian and figures out if they're getting that message. The Russians are also likely getting. That's my fucking story. That is my fucking story, dude. That was the paranoia of it all. That was the thriller aspect. That they get the message, and that they're playing chess with the other fucking side to determine who is getting the fucking thing. I had it. 2014, baby. 2014. which means it's time for all-out war. Not exactly. Okay, we get a lot of scenes of people talking, acting a little agitated, a spacewalk, learning that if they don't get the station turned back on, they're going to crash into Earth's atmosphere in 24 hours. Okay, that is not, none of that stuff was in my idea. So, okay, fine, Nick, fine. Who's going to end up winning the space station spat? Who will we ever care? I think you could tell by my attitude to that question, what that question will be. All right, so here's something to think about. Whenever you walk into an idea, you're basically walking into a movie that's where there's 12 obvious choices you can make throughout the narrative. Quite clearly, I made different choices in this area than Nick. I mean, look, the premise, it's clear. I'm sure there's a billion premises that are probably similar to both of our premises. I can't say that this is, I don't know. That's admittedly arbitrary. That's an admittedly arbitrary number, but it's typically in that ballpark. For example, if you write a haunted house movie, jump scares are one of the 12 obvious choices. Someone standing in front of a mirror and a freaky ghost. So is it because the fact that we both thought of the same like kernel of an idea that therefore we both have the same 12 choices, and then it becomes a chance of 1 out of 12 that we're making the same choices when we're parallelly thinking about the same idea? Possibly. So someone standing in front of a mirror and a freaky ghost appearing behind them in the mirror is one of the 12 obvious choices. That's, that's true. That's true. Someone hearing a noise upstairs, and even though no one in the real world would ever go check out what that noise was, our character goes up to check it out. That's one of the 12 obvious choices. These 12 obvious choices can be found in every common movie blueprint. It's like this writing is like fucking just bitch slapping me in the face, being like, dude, like, shut the fuck up. You're not that important. You're super self-absorbed over this ridiculousness. Whatever, you know what I mean? I'm kind of agreeing with the writing here. I can't argue with this. Your job as a writer is to understand that these 12 obvious choices exist and to attack them in two ways. The first is to avoid them. This is preferable if you can give us something we haven't seen before. See, this is where I think my script would differ from his, because where my script goes, it's definitely different from any of the stuff that's mentioned above, for sure on that, which I guess is good. If you can give us something that we haven't seen before, there's always then it's always better than something that we have seen before. But if you can't do that and you're forced to use the same obvious choice, you must look for a way to elevate it. Give us a version of that obvious. Give us a version of that obvious choice that feels fresh. So take a second to think about this concept. Bunch of people up in a station. What are some of the 12 obvious choices? Well, losing air is one. That does not happen in mine. That always happens. Space station is losing power and it's going to crash into Earth within a certain amount of time is another. That's not what happens in mine. I read that plot beat a lot. There's, of course, going to be a spacewalk at some point. Actually, I do think there's a spacewalk in mine. There is a spacewalk in mine. Actually, the spacewalk is a perfect example. We all knew it was coming. So, okay, give us a version of that spacewalk we've never seen before, but we don't get that here. There's always a moment that I know that a script can't recover from. The spacewalk scene was that moment in I.S.S. It was such a vanilla execution of a spacewalk. It felt like the story wasn't even trying. So there's one character that's missing from this story that's in my story, and it's the fifth character. There's 5 characters in my story, and the 5th character is a robot. And the robot, so the US side and the Russian side each have a key. They each have a key to the machine, the weapon. And the way that you take the station, the way that what you really are trying to get a hold of is the key. If you have both keys, you can activate the weapon. However, there's a failsafe, and the failsafe is the robot, the AI. The AI needs to be the AI and the 2 keys that all need to work together. And in the last version of my script, the twist, the reveal was that the AI itself was actually the key, and they destroy it. They destroy the robot, which dooms the entire Earth, in fact, as a result. And the consciousness, the AI's consciousness escapes on a satellite that's drifting out into space to go find life that's not as stupid as human beings. But the body melts down, and the body is the key itself. And they don't, the cosmonauts and the Americans do not realize this, and that's what ultimately dooms them in the story. Wonder if there's a statute of limitations for stealing an idea. They didn't really steal my idea. I can't, there's not enough to go on here for me to be able to actually say they stole my idea. Yes, paper clips and rubber bands would work as weapons, but it's just a crazy, the whole thing is fucking crazy. The whole thing is fucking crazy. Let's keep reading and see what's going to happen in this story here. It felt like the story wasn't even trying. You didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but if you knew about 95% of what was going to happen, it was achingly familiar. The frustrating thing about screenwriting is that it's impossible to avoid all 12 of these obvious choices. There's an argument to be made on the writer's behalf that he would have been negligent to not include a spacewalk scene. I think that's true too. I think that if he hadn't included a spacewalk scene, these uppity, these uptighty, script writing motherfuckers would these judges and stuff would criticize and be like, we need the classic spacewalk. You know what I mean? It would have seemed weird to be up in space and remain inside the entire time. You need at least some outside time to break the monotony up, which basically leaves you with two options. Figure out a way to give us a never before seen spacewalk scene. Sorry, I am reading this terribly. I'm like squinting to read this. Or think twice about writing the script in the first place. Wow, what a snarky asshole. Don't listen to them, Nick. You fucking you got a $20 million movie made. Don't fucking listen to this asshole. What do they know? Although I haven't seen the movie, so maybe they're right. I haven't read the script either, so maybe they're right. All of the scenarios that happen in the movie have happened in other movies in much better ways. So if your concept doesn't have a way to twist this that gives your new movie more exciting versions of these scenes, why write it? There is one lifeline that can save you should you find yourself in that predicament, and that's the characters. If the characters are great, they can make up for a familiar scenario. That's good advice, and that's true. But unfortunately, the characters are very vanilla here. I will admit, in mine, my movie was a lot more about plot than it was about characters. I hadn't begun to develop the characters. The only character that was remotely sort of developed was the robot, was the AI, and that wasn't, it was an AI, and it wasn't an AI with a personality. It was more of it was a clinical custodian that operated up there. Every character feels safe. There are no wild cards. Everybody exists in the safe gray zone where they're all trying to do the right thing. And while that sounds good in theory, this setup needed an X factor character. It needed someone evil. It needed someone to see. The one thing I will say this though, my characters, as stock as they were, they did do that thing. Like I said, there was conflict between the camps, and eventually in the last treatment, there was this weird reversal where one of the cosmonauts and one of the astronauts had a common goal against their comrades, against their peacenik companions, which wind up in their deaths. And it's the two that are very much for the state and patriotic and whatnot. They're the ones that end up surviving, because by the end there's only two left, and it's one from each side. So the last people left alive, because the earth blows up, of course, spoilers, the last people left alive are the American and the Russian, and they play a game of chess. And that's how I end the movie. That's how my movie ended, at least. And the AI has drifted off into space to find more intelligent life. That was my thing. So they're saying that it needed something evil. It needed someone to root against, even if it is mostly good and a few characters are kind of bad. You're not going to get that much drama out of the equation. I've read numerous versions of this setup that were better, mostly because they had ruthless characters that would do anything to survive. Numerous versions of this setup, like this particular setup, I don't think so. This is yet another example of how important concept is. Even every concept has a ceiling, and if that ceiling is low, you better think twice about writing the script. Even if you should always write a script. You know what? Fuck you. You always write something. If you haven't something to say, write it down. Even if it's not good, just write it down. I still think this would have gotten a wasn't for me just because of how limiting the concept was, unless it had a parasitic cancer twin. In that case, genius rating without question. What I learned, if you have a script built around war, you better have a character to root against. That is true. I'd hate to have to, fuck that. That's not true. We hate to have someone and want to see them go down more than anything. We also, how about this? And that's what makes a story even greater, when you like all sides, when you like all the characters and they're forced into conflict with each other. When you like the antagonist as much as you like the protagonist, then you don't want to see them get hurt. So here's the writer himself. This is when it got picked up. January 26, 2021 is when the movie got picked up. A dream come true. I'm honored to know such incredible people are working hard to make this story come to life. Here is Nick on the set. He's watching, and then there's spoilers here. He says, "This week I got to watch a movie I wrote come to life for the first time. I couldn't be more grateful to everyone involved for working so hard to make ISS movie happen." I mean, you know what, man? Kudos. That's fucking great. And here's the lesson that I learned. Here's the lesson that I ultimately fucking learned from all this, to take this away. An idea that Nick, a story synopsis idea, right? Because obviously Nick's story is different from mine, but a story synopsis idea that I came up with in 2014 was turned into a $20 million movie. What does that say about my ideas? I come up with good fucking ideas. It just happened to be that it wasn't my particular idea that got picked. But that really made me feel good when I thought about that today. I was like, the silver lining here is like, look, you're never going to be able to like fucking, what are you going to, there's no, here's the other thing too. Let's say that just for a second, let's entertain the idea. Let's say that I did register it. Let's say that I had written a script, and let's say that all of this had come to pass, and that I had legitimate grounds for a lawsuit to prove that this was my movie. All of a sudden, I need a lawyer that can prove that, and I need lots and lots of money to pay that lawyer in order to prove that. So at the end of the day, copyright is important, and copyright is everywhere. Everybody has a copyright when they come up with an idea. It's about enforcing that copyright, and it's about protecting that copyright. And that's the hard part. And so it doesn't matter ultimately whether you have a great idea or not. What matters is, can you protect it? And are you doing things to protect? And the best way to protect your idea is to not tell anybody about it. 100% abstinence from talking to other people about your idea, even if you've trademarked it. Because at the end of the day, all someone has to do is just go yoink and do that. Let's do one more scenario. Let's say that Nick absolutely was inspired by my idea. Somehow, through a game of telephone, some way, shape, or form, Nick actually took my idea and changed a few things around, and he took about a premise, and he changed things around enough, and then wrote his own version of that. Like, how do you prove that? How do you prove that? How do you stop something like that? It's whatever. The important thing, the thing that brings me like joy in the situation, first of all, of course I want the movie to succeed, because it's a great fucking idea, and it's a great idea that Nick and I thought of. And it just makes me realize, like, I have good ideas. And I got a million of them. That was just one idea. I've got so many ideas. So it just kind of, I don't know if it gives me hope, but it's like something that I thought up in my head or an idea that I came up with, like people spent $20 million to invest in that idea. That's fucking cool. And that's the thing, that's the satisfaction to gain from all of this, in all honesty. So, well, on one hand, I'm kind of like, you know, thinking in my head, like, fuck, I wish that was me. On the other hand, I'm going like, that's pretty fucking cool. And congratulations, Nick and Gabriela and their whole team. And I hope you make $100 million and I'll go see it in the theater. So that's it. That's it. I'm working on my new film right now. And that I did write a screenplay, and that was registered with the copyright office, the US Copyright Office. And, you know, not that, again, if somebody wanted to take my idea and go make it, and I didn't, and had a lot of money and a lot of lawyers, it wouldn't matter whether I copyrighted it or not. But I did do an audio play version of that second draft of that story. And if you want to hear it, it's on for Patreon and for YouTube members. It's available to you to listen to. You can hear my shadow. Hopefully that'll be my third feature-length film. I've done 2 so far. Romeo's Distress and Gouge Away are my other 2 films, both named after songs, and My Shadow will be the third one named after a song. That's how I roll. What's up, Jody Ramone? Rare moment where I comment from Facebook instead of YouTube. Cousin Jeff, cousin Jody Ramone. Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. What else can I say? Nothing. That's it. That's the end of the show. So I don't know. What do you think? Was I overreacting? Am I being ridiculous? I mean, I don't think I'm overreacting at all. Like I said, I learned a very good lesson from all of this. And the lesson is, one, don't tell people your really good ideas. I mean, always, even if you haven't written them into a screenplay. 2, your ideas might be worth millions of dollars, or people might want to invest millions of dollars in your ideas, and that you should treat them like $1 million ideas. And 3, just because one thing gets away, don't dwell. It didn't get away because I didn't do anything with it, you know, because that's the ultimate reality too. If I really fucking loved it, if I really fucking was like fucking gung-ho about it, I would have pushed harder to break that story. And the truth of the matter is, it's still in a treatment phase. Every once in a while, every couple of years, I sit down and I start working on it again. And will I continue working on it? No, I don't think so. I think that I don't know how I could. Maybe. Again, there's enough stuff that's different in there. Maybe I would. But then everybody will just say, oh, that's a ripoff of I.S.S. And I'd be like, no, it's not. Well, you know, what can I do? All right. That's the show tonight. Tomorrow night, Kiss panel. It's going to fucking rule. We got Larry the Wolf that will be back in the house. Chris Allo. Hopefully this other guy, David, Chris is bringing along. And yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to do a little Kiss, talk about some Kissery. Thank you. Peace, hair grease, all the rest. We'll see you next time.